Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programas offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Naše programy nabízejí více jazyků. Prosím, navštivte suprememastertv.com/schedule.
There should be, as before the law, no rich, no poor, no high, no low, no black, no white, but one country, one citizenship, equal rights, and a common destiny for all. The Honourable Frederick Douglass. The Honourable Frederick Douglass, An American Story, Part 2 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Make this world a paradise? Can do, just simply being vegan and making peace.
How do you do, noble viewers? I'm Daniel. The day is brighter thanks to kind-hearted vegans as you and the chivalrous people of the United Kingdom. Pray that peace and blessings be with you always. We are delighted to have you join us for part 2 of a 2-part series entitled The Honourable Frederick Douglass, an American story about a prominent and influential social reformer in American history. In his twilight years, Frederick Douglass became the first African American to serve in the cabinet of the United States, holding the position of Minister to the Republic of Haiti. His commanding demeanor as a leader, his natural skill as an orator, his sharp intellect, and his acute personal understanding of the suffering that African Americans endured, having himself been born into slavery, earned him the respect of the public and his colleagues. He was a major contributor to the rise of the abolitionist political movement that played a major role in the eventual delivery of the Emancipation Proclamation and the abolition of slavery in the United States. After a harrowing escape from slavery, liberty was still not absolute for Frederick Douglass. Although he was now living within the northern states where slavery was no longer practiced, he was still by law a runaway slave and constantly risked being returned to the South if discovered. Moreover, he and his wife, Anna Murray Douglass, experienced racial discrimination at every turn, also making Frederick's job prospects limited. Frederick joined the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, became ordained as a preacher in 1839, and began to deliver sermons at stops along the Underground Railroad that had served his escape. William Lloyd Garrison had started the abolitionists in New Bedford, a movement dedicated to the absolute and immediate rescinding of slavery from the United States. Frederick Douglass became enraptured reading their regularly printed newsletter, The Liberator, and soon sought out the group, intent on becoming involved. Taking summer holidays in 1841, Frederick Douglass traveled to the nearby island of Nantucket, where abolitionists had gathered for their annual general meeting. Having escaped slavery, he was spontaneously invited to address the crowd by William Lloyd Garrison, and related his vivid personal experiences to an astonished audience who clung to each and every word of his oration. Frederick's confidence grew, and he spoke with increasing power and dramatic recollection. The crowd was further amazed to learn that, in slavery, he had received no formal education at all, yet now spoke so eloquently before them. The anti-slavery movement had just been delivered the spokesperson it needed. Frederick's authenticity alone, as a former slave amongst predominantly white and privileged activists, gave their cause a huge boost. Together with William Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass commenced a tour of northern states, delivering hundreds of speeches at anti-slavery conventions, which soon propelled the debate of abolitionism to national levels. His subsequent celebrity status was further propelled by the publication of his first autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, in 1845. This influential piece of literature also attracted lots of opposition from the pro-slavery lobby, and soon Frederick Douglass decided to take refuge in England and Ireland to avoid any possibility of a return to incarceration. He was only able to come back to the United States in 1847 after abolitionist friends had purchased his freedom from his former owner in the South. To further the cause of slaves still in bondage, Frederick Douglass and his growing family settled in New Rochester, New York. With their help, he established a series of his own abolitionist newspapers, such as the North Star, evoking the light of the night sky. Stars that escaped slaves would follow when making their voyage to freedom. The paper's slogan was, "Right is of no gender, truth is of no color. God is the Father of us all, and all we are brethren." After His Excellency Abraham Lincoln's election to US presidency in 1861, national events quickly escalated. Frederick Douglass found himself at the center of a political hurricane as slavery became the single most determining issue of the day. The outcome, however, was the Emancipation Proclamation, decreed in 1862, declaring slaves within the United States forever free. This finally came into realization after enormous sacrifices and the eventual attainment of peace in 1865. Frederick Douglass personally advised the president at the White House during this critical time, continually reinforcing the abolitionist principles by ensuring that an uncompromising attitude was maintained in regard to the policy of slavery during the ensuing conflict.
In a composite nation like ours, made up of almost every variety of the human family, there should be, as before the law, no rich, no poor, no high, no low, no black, no white, but one country, one citizenship, equal rights, and a common destiny for all. A government that cannot or does not protect the humblest citizens in its right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness should be reformed or overthrown without delay.
In his sunset years, Frederick Douglass acquired a stately home upon Cedar Hill, overlooking Washington, D.C., where he continued to write and inspire millions in his unofficial capacity as the leader of African Americans in the United States. Officially appointed Marshal of the District of Columbia, or DC, Frederick Douglass made countless public appearances and accompanying speeches, unitizing these events in order to keep the impetus of racial equality alive. He now also included the rights of women as part of his untiring quest for the United States to live up to its own creeds of liberty and justice for all. After Frederick's first wife, Anna Marie Douglass, passed away in 1882, he eventually remarried Helen Pitts. Although a happy occasion, it was at this time that Frederick Douglass also realized that, despite all of the momentous changes that he had witnessed in his life regarding the emancipation of slaves, America still had a long way to go to achieve racial equality and harmony. Because this was an interracial marriage, disapproval was openly expressed by much of society. In 1889, His Excellency President Benjamin Harrison appointed Frederick Douglass the U.S. Minister to Haiti, making him the first African-American member of the United States Federal Cabinet. 6 years later, the news of Frederick Douglass's passing at Cedar Hill was met with an outpouring of respectful condolence across the United States for the man who had overcome immense challenges during his life to become a respected leader. With great integrity, Frederick Douglass served as a source of great motivation in the movement that put an end to the inhumane practice of slavery, and he dedicated himself to achieving the noble principle of equality for all. In 1895, the first hospital for African Americans in Philadelphia was named the Frederick Douglass Memorial Hospital. The hospital trained and employed African American medical professionals. In 1962, Frederick Douglass's home in Anacostia, a historic neighborhood in Washington, D.C., became part of the National Park System, and in 1988 was designated the Frederick Douglass National Historic Site. In 1965, Frederick Douglass was honored with a stamp as part of the Prominent Americans series, published during the upsurge of the Civil Rights Movement. Douglass Place is a group of historic row houses which in 1892 Frederick Douglass constructed. The 5 buildings were rental housing units for African Americans in Baltimore, and in 1983 were listed on the National Register of Historic Places. In 1999, Yale University established the Frederick Douglass Book Prize to honor his literary works in the history of slavery and abolition. Frederick Douglass gave his final public lecture at Westchester University on February 1, 1895, just 19 days before his passing. A statue commemorating this event stands today on the university campus, celebrating the life of this prestigious and noble man, Frederick Douglass, who continues to inspire humanity as we strive to build a kinder, peaceful world.
Veganism is at the core of everything I am and do. Suli Autagavaya, vegan.
Gracious viewers, it's been wonderful to have you with us today. Coming up next is Traditional Malay Glutinous Rice Treats, Part 1 of 2, Vegan Pulut Panggang, or Grilled Savory Rice Parcels with Vegan Fish Filling, right after noteworthy news, here on Supreme Master Television. May we strive to live in love and harmony with all our fellow co-inhabitants on this beautiful planet.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.